Welcome to Untold Shocking History Channel. Make sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out more videos like this one.
Astronaut Edwin Buzz Aldrin becomes the second human to set foot on the moon in 1969 during the Apollo 11 mission. The image was captured by Neil Armstrong, the first to exit the lunar module and walk on the surface. Pablo Escobar rests at dawn on December 1st, 1980, the day he turned 31 at Hacienda Nápoles, his estate in Colombia. At the foot of the bed is Ligia Urquijo, his sister-in-law. Marilyn Monroe poses on an M29 Pershing tank during a visit to American troops in the Korean War in 1954. She took part in a special tour organized to entertain soldiers stationed in the country after the end of active combat. The Antonov An-225, the largest airplane ever built, is unveiled to the public in the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic, Soviet Union, in 1988. A crowd gathers inside the hangar to see the enormous aircraft up close. In 1944, a fake neighborhood was built on top of an aircraft factory in California to hide its operations during World War II. The cover included fake streets, artificial trees, and wooden houses to deceive potential aerial observers. Bill Lundy, Florida's last Civil War veteran, poses next to a jet fighter in 1955. Dressed in his traditional attire and holding a cane, he contrasts with the modern military aircraft, symbolizing the meeting of two eras. A worker performs internal cleaning of a 15-inch cannon barrel at Coventry Ordnance Works during World War I. She is hoisted inside the tube, where she uses hand tools to clean the rifling grooves of the barrel. Workers operate roughly 197 feet above the ground during the construction of the Hindenburg, one of the largest airships ever built. The image shows the internal framework being finished inside a massive hangar in Germany during the 1930s. An Italian resistance fighter is photographed in Florence in 1944 during the final years of World War II. Armed and with a determined expression, he was part of the groups fighting against the German occupation and the local Axis-aligned regime. Arnold Schwarzenegger is photographed during the filming of Pumping Iron in 1977. The documentary followed his preparation for Mr. Olympia, a bodybuilding competition he had won 6 consecutive times up until then. Ringo Starr, Paul McCartney, and John Lennon are seen during the famous Mad Day Out in 1968, an impromptu photo session held at various locations around London. Frank Sinatra prepares drinks at the bar in his Palm Springs, California, home in 1965. Dressed elegantly yet casually, the singer shows his social and welcoming side off stage. Customers gather at a McDonald's restaurant in the 1950s, with cars parked in front of the building lit by signs and fluorescent lights. The structure features the chain's original design, with its famous golden arches and angular roof. The Bel Azeb 549B, an experimental Soviet mining dump truck, was tested in 1969 with a turbine engine adapted from a Mi-8 helicopter. The idea was to use the turbine's power to haul heavy loads in industrial settings. Workers celebrate the end of Prohibition in the United States by unloading cases of beer onto a truck in 1933. A sign on the front of the vehicle proclaims the return of the beverage with bold text, "Beer, we have it." Protesters marched through the streets of Chicago during the 1920s, carrying signs that read, "We Want Beer," in protest against prohibition in the United States. People enjoy themselves at a small gathering known as a juke party in South Carolina in 1956. The scene, captured in color on Kodachrome film, shows locals dancing, talking, and listening to music in a casual, welcoming setting. Students train at a geisha school in Tokyo, Japan, in 1951. The young women learn traditional arts such as dance, music, etiquette, and conversation, essential elements to become fully trained geishas. Lyndon B. Johnson gestures energetically for the pilots to turn off the engines of a plane, allowing John F. Kennedy to give his speech in Texas in 1960. The noise was disrupting the audience, and Johnson intervened directly. The first Coca-Cola delivery arrives in Knoxville, Tennessee in 1919. The image shows a truck unloading bottles of the soft drink in front of a local store. During World War I, ships were painted with geometric patterns and contrasting colors in a technique known as dazzle camouflage. A woman takes a mug of bitter beer from a vending machine in 1962. The scene took place in the United Kingdom, where this type of beer was popular in pubs and public places. A woman chooses a lunch tray at a drive-in known as the Auto Motor Mat in Hollywood, likely during the 1940s or 1950s. The concept combined convenience and technology, allowing customers to place orders without leaving their cars. Young people gather in a discotheque in East Germany in 1976. The scene shows colorful lights, a lively dance floor, and typical 1970s fashion with bell-bottom pants, printed shirts, and voluminous hairstyles. Greta Garbo poses next to MGM's lion, known as Leo the Lion, in 1926. In the image, the Swedish actress, who had just arrived in Hollywood, appears uncomfortable with the animal's presence. Charlton Heston cuts a cake next to Sophia Loren during a celebration on the set of the feature film El Cid in the 1960s. The event brought together cast and crew to celebrate the progress of the production. Ingrid Bergman appears beside her twin daughters, Isabella and Isotta Rossellini, in 1952. The Swedish actress, already acclaimed in international cinema, is seen in an intimate family moment, holding the babies. Employees serve customers at a McDonald's counter in 1976, wearing colorful uniforms and using period cash registers. The environment features dark wood finishes and a menu board above the counter with prices ranging from 25 to 65 cents. Students in London protest against the use of caning, a form of physical punishment in schools, in 1972. They hold signs and march peacefully through the streets, calling for the end of this practice. A boy brings news of Yuri Gagarin's spaceflight to a local shepherd in the Soviet Union in 1961. The scene captures the moment the historic achievement reaches the country's rural areas, symbolizing national pride in the accomplishment. A country boy holds several apples in his arms in the Kostanay district of the Kazakh Soviet Socialist Republic in 1962. With a serious expression and his shirt dirty from farm work, he poses in front of a truck stopped on a dirt road. An Italian harpist plays for a group of children on a street in 1877. Sitting with his instrument, he performs outdoors while the youngsters watch attentively and curiously. The 1896 Athens Olympic Games marked the first edition of the modern Olympics. Held in Greece, they brought together athletes from 13 countries, competing in 9 events, such as track and field, gymnastics, and wrestling. Telephone operators work in a communications exchange in Richmond, Virginia, in 1884. Seated side by side, they manually connect calls using cables and switchboards with jacks. Shepherds used stilts to cross the grassy plains of Landes in southwestern France in the early 1900s. This technique allowed them to better oversee flocks and move quickly over the wet terrain. An Inuit man warms his wife's feet in a traditional cabin in Greenland in the 1890s. The scene depicts an intimate, everyday gesture essential for coping with the region's extremely cold climate. The Kimberley Diamond Mine in South Africa is shown in 1872 in full operation. The region became one of the busiest centers in the world after the discovery of an 83.5 carat diamond. An electric car is being charged in a residential garage in 1911 in the United States. The vehicle is connected to a simple outlet, showing that even in the early 20th century, electric mobility solutions already existed. A rural mail carrier in Sweden is photographed in his winter uniform around 1900. He wears a long, heavy coat, gloves, and a fur hat, suitable for facing the harsh climatic conditions of the country's interior. On May 3, 1921, the grand opening of the Field Museum of Natural History took place in Chicago, Illinois. The museum was moved to its new building on Museum Campus, near Lake Michigan. Former Detroit Mayor Coleman A. Young is photographed laughing as he watches colorful balloons rising into the sky in 1984. The scene took place during a public event in the city, where he often participated in celebrations and ceremonies. School children performed the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States flag in 1892 during a school ceremony. This gesture was part of the early versions of the pledge, introduced that same year. A Victorian-era couple tries to stifle laughter while posing for a photographic portrait in the 1890s. During that time, it was common to maintain serious expressions in photos due to the long exposure needed to capture the image. A mother and her son pose for a portrait in Ireland in 1890. She stands, leaning on a cane and wearing heavy wool clothing typical of rural areas at the time. Her son, seated beside her, holds an envelope in his hands and wears a simple suit. A handwritten sign is posted on the wall of a simple hotel room in 1926, warning the guest that snoring is prohibited. The note, tacked up, appears against worn walls and basic furniture. People enjoy the sea wearing typical 1890s swimwear. Women wear full-length outfits with sleeves, collars, and knee-length skirts, while men and children wear lightweight fabric suits. Vintage automobiles line the beachfront at Nantasket Beach, Massachusetts, during the 4th of July weekend around 1925. The beach became a popular summer destination for families seeking leisure and relaxation. Soldiers perform calisthenics exercises at Daniel Army Airfield in Georgia on July 1, 1943. Organized in rows, they follow coordinated movements as part of military physical training. The Dalai Lama is photographed at 2 years old in 1937, shortly after being recognized as the reincarnation of Tibet's spiritual leader. He sits on a ceremonial platform, wearing traditional robes in front of an image of Buddha.